Hello, welcome to the 28th day of July 2025. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a video exercise that I do every morning at around 5:30 a.m. to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org, or you can buy it on Amazon, or go into your bookstore and ask, they'll get it. I also use this time to think about yesterday and how I did with interesting challenges and opportunities that I met, where interesting is defined as things, challenges and opportunities where I either did well or I did poorly. Because I want to examine both of those. The middle ground, I'm not so interested anymore. If it's just run-of-the-mill stuff, then something's tuned. I'm tuned in that capacity. But where I did really well, I want more of that. Where I did really poorly, I want to study that so I can maybe make changes to help me not do poorly in the future. Quick welcome to new subscribers to the channel. I'm glad you're here. I want to let you know that this is a personal journal video, so it's all about me. So if you want to watch, you're welcome to do so. You can leave comments if you like. I don't read or respond to comments until I'm done. I do talk about sensitive subjects here. I talk about my lack of belief in God sometimes, which makes some people uncomfortable. I do talk about my ideas regarding death and my plans for my own death, which also make people uncomfortable, and also my plans to make sure that I'm ready for death, which seems to make people even more uncomfortable. So be heads up, those things might come up. The death part certainly will. Also, and a big thank you to my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters. Just another reminder that I now have discount codes out there for both my members and my Patreon supporters, where you can get discounts to use in my eBay store. Those codes don't work on the eBay store, just on the Fourth Wall YouTube store. Okay, enough marketing and commercializing. Although I'll have another commercial in a minute when I talk about what I'm in all this today. All right, so enough of that. As for the last 24 hours, let me look at my notes. I have 3 notes from yesterday. The first says, an extreme day, why all right? And then a question mark. The second note says, PEF, new perspective. PEF is an acronym that stands for Peaceful Easy Feeling, which is the term that I use, borrowed from the group, the Eagles, to describe this settled sense of peace that has come 7 months into retirement. It arrived about 6 months in, and it's been with me now for a month. Attended sometimes by an even deeper sense of peace that is more akin to almost like a meditative state that it's only happened like a handful of times, but it's happened. And it's amazing when it happens. And I remember a thought I was going to have that I didn't note down. I actually made a video 2 days ago, and I think in the clip for the Retiring in Japan video, I noted it, and then I said I need to think more about this, and I haven't done this. There is this woman, and I'm going to just pick her out because she's emblematic of this. This is definitely an aside. She used to be a runner. She's very old. She's got to be, if she's not she's not in her 80s. Well, Japanese people, and especially Japanese women, tend to hold their age quite well. I'm going to say she's probably, early to mid 80s, and she's like a lot of Japanese people are. I don't remember seeing this very often in America. Sometimes you'd see it in America, but it would be different in America. I'm really diverging a lot of things here, but I think I can rally it all around. In America, you'd see older people sometimes who don't move very well, but usually that's because they're like, obese, and they just have lived a very sedentary life. You can tell, right? It seems like they're not used to walking, and and as a result, their body has kind of given up, and enough of that, and they get their scooters and they just lived a very sedentary life. It's a different thing. But here in Japan, which is a very literally, I love that word pedestrian. I use it for many terms, but literally a pedestrian community where everybody walks and does everything, and to the store, to the school, to the station, whatever you need to do. people are used to it. So what happens here is when people get old here in Japan and their bodies start to break down, it yields a different result. Instead of looking like you just can't walk anymore, it looks like they're broken in some way. Like you'll see a lot of old men that kind of have this kind of a hobble to them, and they're just like they're still moving, but it's just like their body's just not as it's like an old jalopy that's kind of breaking down and sputtering down the road. She's like that. I know, I'm pretty confident, and I've said hi to her. I see her every morning. I'll see her this morning. She's very friendly. Um, she's very small. If she stands 5 feet tall, I'd be surprised. And I'm pretty sure she used to be a runner because she's always wears these shirts that were like marathons that she attended, and they're way too big for her now. Marathons that she attended, that she ran in like in the 70s and the 80s, that she still wears these shirts. And she's still trying to run now. She runs through a kind of a course, not a track, but a course that I see. We encounter her almost every day when we're doing our dog walk, because she runs on this course. And she's got this broken run that, I could practically in a fast walk keep up with her, and her whole body kind of does this thing. This is what I mean about the Japanese when their bodies start to, stop working. They don't give up walking or even running. In her case, it just doesn't come out. It doesn't look like a run anymore. It doesn't look like a, a youthful walk anymore. Kudos to them, right? I mean, gee, I hope to be among their number someday and walk with I want to say a crippled walk, but it's more like an old walk, an encumbered walk. Anyway, I'm at risk of diverging too far away, and I'll swimming too far from shore, and I'll never get back. The point was, there is literally this aura around her of peace that's like at another level. And I've been meeting her for half a year now. So it's every day. Enough about that. That's the point I wanted to make. There's also 2 women that I see when I come back from radio exercise. My one neighbor right over here that lives in the old house right around the corner that you can't see. He lives across the meadow. He lives all alone. Inabasan is his name. And he and I walk back from morning exercise together, and we always encounter 2 very older women. I mean, they're in their mid-80s for sure, out for their morning stroll together. And they have that same kind of a broken gait, and they have that same air and aura of peace. Now, it's not exclusive to Japan. I remember that same thing, seeing that in the States. I remember seeing it with old people at the convalescent home where I worked. I remember that in the trailer park where my grandmother and grandfather lived before they died, seeing people there. I remember that in many cases. It seems to be something that comes with being so far removed, not only from the stress and weight of the workaday, but so far removed from the sense of, like, it's like you've drifted away from this island of war. Imagine the common society where we endeavor to work and raise kids. It's a great thing, but it's a struggle. It's like going to war every day. I mean, you're waking up and you're going to battle to get the Cheerios ready to feed the kids. Finish your food to get people to do, to get the kids off to school. To others, a note from the teacher. Why didn't you show me this last night? Right? And then go to work and fight the battle there. Slaying dragons. It's like, maybe if you can survive, if you can get 10 or 15 or 20 years distant from that in retirement, then you're beyond it. I mean, you're not paying attention to politics anymore, maybe. You're not reading the newspaper anymore, maybe. I don't know. Maybe doing that kind of stuff keeps you grounded and you can't get away. But there's something about it. Now, taking it all the way back, remember I said I was diverging, I was wandering far from the original point. The original point was the second note here, PEF, new perspective. I said there was PEF, peaceful easy feeling, that began to appear, and then this deeper peace that would rise up once in a while. And just, it was like, oh, and I wasn't summoning it. It just kind of showing up once in a while. I was like, what? I would like grab onto the rail, hold onto the seat. What the hell is going on here? This is great. I want more of this. What's this drug called? When there's no drug. It's just living. It's like, what the hell? And now I'm starting to piece it together. It's the same thing that those oldsters are showing on their face to me. When I get that bright, you've all seen it, right? We've all seen it before. When you say hello to a really old person, typically an old woman, and you get back this bright, effervescent "good morning" or whatever it is. That it's like whoa, what are you on? Where'd that come from? That's all out of proportion for a Tuesday. Like, what the hell? It's a thing. It's a thing that seems to arrive. And I think it's somewhere waiting beyond PEF. There's a second note here in PEF New Perspective. I haven't even begun to talk about the notes yet. I just wanted to enumerate them. And the third one here, productive equals feels good. So let's go over these one by one. So yesterday, extreme day, why all right? Why all right? Okay, Tim and I have been having this dialogue. Tim over in England, a few years older than me, roughly 2 years ahead of me on the retirement scheme. He and I have been having these experiences where we've been going out in the garden on the hot days and getting wiped out. Put ourselves flat on our backs for if not for half a day, for a full 24 hours. And we've been comparing notes on that, and we've been cautionary notes. And the thing is, I thought it was the heat that was doing it. So I've got and I'm a very empirical person. I've got some anecdotal evidence, anecdotal evidence of that. To the contrary, yesterday was certainly the hottest day of the year. I thought the day before was the hottest. Yesterday was out of this world. Oh, I forgot to note the temperature and time, didn't I? Put a pin in that real quick. It's currently 25 degrees Celsius and 84 humidity. 25 C, 84%. Okay. So yesterday was certainly the hottest day of the year, and the sun was blazing. And I woke up. I went out to water the yard. We went out on a log dog walk in the morning. Then we went up to the elementary school, and we played for almost 3 hours a ball game with our neighbors in an unair-conditioned room, big auditorium, blazing hot, sweat just pouring. Then we went to an antique fair held at a community center on the other side of this mountain, held in the blacktop parking lot of that community center. No shade, no trees, no shade, no nothing. And that was we got there around 2 o'clock, the height of the day. I didn't have a hat. We spent like an hour and a half there until they were closing. They were literally rolling up the streets, closing up the shops. The whole time I'm walking around, and every time Yoko and Yumiko were at a pair, they were shopping, because they shop for different things. And I was doing my thing, and we would, like planets orbiting the sun, we would, kind of come in close encounter once in a while, and I'd pass Yumiko and Yoko and say, I'm doomed, there's no way I'm going to survive this. And I thought that by the end of the day, I would be wiped out, and that today would be a done day, I'd be finished. And that didn't happen. So what gives? Yesterday was an extreme day, exercise, outdoor exposure, direct sunlight right on the head. And why am I all right? I feel great. I don't know. I have some ideas. I don't know if I'm ready to share them. I'm still mulling them over. But that was interesting to note. The PEF New Perspective, I think I've already laid that out. That new perspective is, I think I already discussed that one. I don't remember why I said new perspective, but I talked enough about that one. And then the productive and feels good. Yesterday was a Sunday. Man, was I productive. In addition to all of that, I did my Good Life meditation video. I did a retiring in Japan video upload that was I would say, of low caliber in terms of editing, but pretty good in terms of being in the spirit of the Retiring in Japan series. I think I'm getting better at following through on the spirit of this series rather than having a highly edited and produced clean video. It's a video that conveys just what I want it to be, which is the journal of being retired in Japan. I was pleased with that video, even though I don't think it was my best in terms of editing. But if I had a coach, so if I could take a road now and say, okay, pick the road of editing or the road of being genuine, and you can do both, right? You can be genuine at editing. Although, you know what, maybe you can't. Because once you start getting into editing, what you're basically doing is curating, right? Editing means editing. Editing means cutting out the sloppy bits, the messy bits, and putting in your contrived best foot forward. That's not very genuine. That's not, well, it's not as genuine as just here's the 25 clips that I recorded throughout the day, put together back to back with a subtle transition, and that's the day. That's genuine, if not lazy. Okay, so perspective. So productive. So I did. In addition to all that, I listed an antique item. I listed an inventory item. I'm very proud of the coffee that I listed. Okay, commercial break. Commercial break. This Good Life meditation video is brought to you this morning by UCC The Blend. I drink a lot of coffee, and I really like, gosh, this is a commercial. I really like instant coffee. When I wake up in the morning, I need a little kickstart to my day. I choose UCC The Blend 114 edition. Coffee crystals to start your day. I have two stores that I've started. I have my YouTube store, which is pretty much strictly antiques. I also have some green tea over there and one item of senbei, just for people that want that stuff that don't have to go hunt for it over on eBay. On eBay though, it's no holds barred. I've got merchandise galore. I'm basically putting the face of Japan my favorite Japan products on eBay to make available to the world. And yesterday, I went shopping. Yumiko gave me it's one of the rare times that I actually went shopping. She gave me a little shopping list, and eggs, milk, yogurt, bananas. And I went, and while I was there, I needed coffee for me. So I picked up this, which is not the one I usually get. Usually I get the other type. But I wanted to try this. It's a little more expensive, a little fancier. It turns out it's really good. And I got it. And I got home, and I wasn't going to do a product yesterday. I did the antique listing in the morning. I wasn't going to do a product listing because it's Sunday. I thought I'd give myself the day off. And I was just about to open it up, and I realized, hey, why don't I add it to the store? So I just came out here, got the camera out, I made a commercial, and made the listing, added it to eBay, and now you can get, if you want, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I am. If you want to try, this is really good instant coffee. It's available on my eBay store now. I'm not telling you this to try to sell you coffee, though. I'm telling you this because I have stumbled upon something that is highly applicable to me, which is that I do not find satisfaction in freedom alone. Being liberated of work and the responsibilities of the active years of parenting is not satisfactory to me. Some people enjoy a life of leisure. I'm not one of them, at least not yet. I need a crutch. I've said this many times, I'm like a smoker that needs a placebo to put between my fingers to get me by, right? And that placebo is not a placebo, is work. I've turned back to work. I applied for 2 jobs. I haven't heard from anything from them. And I don't think I'm going to because I applied for a part-time job. They're full-time positions of which I applied and offered myself part-time, so they're not going to call me. And I've turned fully back to my work and my business. And it's doing really well. I have 3 orders to ship today. And it feels great. It's everything that I was missing. And if I ever thought that I couldn't have my cake and eat it too, I discovered that I can't, because there's no stress. I mean, zero stress doing this. Now, when I was an antique dealer before, there was plenty of stress. Same place, same backing, same community, same circumstance, same stuff for the most part. Tons of stress because my wife was a stay-at-home mom. Our daughter was in private kindergarten. We had private kindergarten tuition. We had rent. We had bills. We had to pay for all this stuff. I had to pay all that stuff. I had huge stress because I was listing antiques, and I had to churn that stuff, baby. I had to make money to pay all the bills. Man, that was so stressful. Now I don't have to worry about that. This is just fun. And I get to spend time. I get to spend time like every order, spend time, write out a personal note to people, add in some goodies and gifts, and not worry so much. I'm not so worried about the profit margin, right? Like, so what if it? So what if I add too many gifts in it, and it compromises my profit? I'm making someone that is a supporter of my channel happy on the other end. That feels good. Okay, so productive and feels good. I said enough about that too. I think I've covered yesterday sufficiently. Let's move on to my creed, which, as I said before, can be read in the chapter titled The Good Life in my book, Going Alone. My creed consists of 8 objectives, and I strive to live a life that is fulfilling these objectives with every action and decision that I make. And these are, first of all, the first objective is to be ready to die at every moment. I'll tell you something I haven't told anybody yet. Something happened yesterday. I had a moment to think. We were at the ball game thing we were doing, the bocce ball or whatever the hell it's called, which we won, by the way. I was elected. I got to tell you about this. So we went up to play this game, this community game that the idea is to engender community participation and neighborliness. And the whole valley here, and the mesa up there, that's Kunioshita, the mesa up there, and then this is Yara, the Valley of Tea. And those two communities came together to battle it out. And Yumiko and I were in 2 separate teams representing this immediate neighborhood. The team I was on had 2 other members, and they were my neighbor 2 doors down, the husband, the father, and the neighbor across the street from him, husband and father. Both guys my age. If you look at my social media feed, you'll see a picture of the 2 of us standing together. 2 good-looking, handsome guys, my age, active. The one guy's got a scooter, he's an adventurer. The other guy is like a world traveler. When he was like in college, he took some time off and like literally hitchhiked around the world, and his wife did the same on her own, and they came together. They're amazing people, and I wouldn't have known any of this had we not been in this event. Anyway, they elected me captain, which put me in a position of, leading the team, and had to interact and had to use Japanese all the time, and we won. We won the community of the neighborhood championship, and Yumiko's team came in second, which means our 2 teams are going to go off to the city finals. And I made 2 new friends, right? This is great. But what I didn't tell anybody yet was, in the heat of all of that, I suddenly had this experience where I was getting short of breath. There was a pain in my chest, and I couldn't quite get a full breath. Now, that's worrying, right? And I probably should check it out, and you know what? I probably should see a doctor. I will talk to Yumiko about it today. I'll mention what happened. This happened to me once before. It was a panic attack. It was much more severe. I couldn't have been a panic. That makes it even more worrying, right? Couldn't be a panic attack. I've got like 0 stress in my life now. And I was having fun during that thing. Probably was my heart. I better go see the doctor. Anyway, while it was happening, in the midst of all of this, I felt that pain. And this is back to the objective of being always ready to die. I had a moment where I thought, should I stop and tell Yumiko what's going on and maybe go get checked out, which I knew would devolve into a big thing here, right? I mean, I'd be, you know, it wouldn't have been a little thing, and maybe deservedly so. Or should I just see it through? And one of the thoughts I had was, well, Kurt, is this a good, hard basketball court to fall over and keel over and die on right now? And I thought, and I didn't need to think, because I think about it every day, the three questions. Are my affairs in order? Is my life's work complete? And are my relationships sound? And the answer to all three of those questions is yes. My life's work is done. My affairs are definitely in order. And I don't have anybody that I have any need to have any final words with. So yeah, I literally was standing there with the pain in my chest and short of breath, looking at the basketball court and saying, okay, if I keel over and plant into this right now, can I go into, and okay, here, I told you I talk about religion or my lack thereof. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in a soul. I don't believe in an afterlife. I said to myself, Kurt, are you ready to face plant down into the basketball court and go into oblivion today? And I looked at it and I said, I am. My wife will be taken care of. My daughter's done with university. Sure, I got some more debt to pay off for her college loan, but I've got that all set up on a payment system. That'll take care of. Yeah. It just means that Yumiko will have to pull a little more money out of our savings to do that. Yeah. Okay. Pass me the ball. That's literally how it went down. So that's really interesting because that tells me that's the kind of stuff I'm after. I'm after little bits of evidence where, because it's easy, it's big to talk, right? It's big to say, yeah, I'm ready to die. It's another thing to actually face the moment and say, yeah, I'm ready to die. Okay, let's do the thing. Maybe it's stupid to do that, but it's my life, right? It's my death, right? I get to address it on my own terms. Sure. I'm a married man. I'm a family man. I'm a community man. I need to think about everyone around me, but I also can grapple with death on my own terms. Look at that. Can you see the sun about to blaze through? I feel this motivation to hurry up because it's 27 minutes in, and that's going to blaze when it gets here, although it is a little overcast. So the second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. The third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. The fourth objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. Number 6 is to do just one thing at a time and do the thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Number 7 is to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. I got those backwards, didn't I? I always do. 6 is to recognize true limits and true opportunities so I know what's within reach and what isn't. 7 is to do one thing at a time, like I said. And then 8 is to keep my balance. Okay, I muddled those up at the end. Oh well. Let's read them. Let's read one of the principles. Yesterday I read, life will not go well. Today, that means I know, the horror show is next. I remember adding this principle in when I realized that, because I added in the principle called the horror show. Life will not go well, which I read yesterday, to put into the book an observation that we shouldn't expect, even when we're well-tuned and our life's in order, we shouldn't expect things to go smoothly because second law of thermodynamics. But then I realized that wasn't enough, that sometimes things don't just go poorly. Sometimes there isn't just a fly in our Chardonnay or a cloud on our wedding day, or a rain cloud on our wedding day. Sometimes there's stage 4 cancer in the doctor's office being told to us. Sometimes there's a horrific, and this is where I told you I get people uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes there's a head-on car collision where our child has been killed. Sometimes there is, like I was thinking, I got something stuck in my head yesterday, and it was so horrific. Oh yeah, I remember what it was. I'm not going to tell you. It was something that I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to plant that in your head. It was something that I inadvertently encountered, and we all have this, right? where we inadvertently see something we can't unsee or we can't unthink about for the rest of our lives. It was one of those things, right? And I wasn't thinking about my principles or anything. It just, the way the mind does, it just somehow yesterday, somewhere in my mind decided to drag up this horrific memory. And I've got so many of them. They're like a friggin', it's like a friggin' jukebox of horror. And that just brought up another one. What? Stop it. Okay, I brought up this one. You know what I mean? We all, if you live long enough, you've got a jukebox of horror memories that could be related to your own life or things that you've seen or heard about. I've got lots of both. And it popped up 3 times yesterday, this one memory. And I had to stop and okay, Kurt, it's the kind of stuff that sometimes the horror show stuff is at such a level that you almost wish you, I'm not talking about suicide here. I'm talking about just to escape the pain. Just to be aware that such horror exists, you almost wish you were never born, just so that you didn't have to experience it. And you don't have to go very far. It doesn't have to deal with us. I mean, I can sit here on my porch and look out at this bamboo woods behind me, and the horror is unfolding. And nature is just a horror show on its own right, red in tooth and claw in every way. So I wrote the horror show in. I added that that principle immediately after life will not go well, to give voice to the fact that life not only just doesn't go well sometimes it's a friggin' horror show. And here it is. I'll read it. It's just a single paragraph, the horror show. And remember, I didn't write it in because I wanted to. I wrote it in because I felt I had to. The horror show. The recognized consequence of a universe unfolding beyond reach of our care or ministrations, and the awful evidence that there is no overarching management or oversight beyond the descriptive record we make and share with one another of how things operate, and the necessity which physics, chemistry, and time does seemingly demand of us all. So it's recognizing that nature seems to unfold this way. We are just part of nature. And there doesn't seem to be any oversight of it. There's no parent in the universe. Because I don't believe in God. We can't appeal to God. There's no grand plan. Praying mantises aren't consuming their mates, back end, alive, back end from butt to head, because of some grand scheme of God, right? This is just happening because that's the way nature unfolds. And the only thing that seems to have any way of giving any credence to any of this is the fact that we can communicate this with one of our sentient creatures, can seemingly communicate this with one another. There's something about it. I wonder if whales can do the same with their big brains. At last, we stand with our hands at our sides and our mouths agape, and our minds at wit's end, as the unfolding tale of what is moves on without notice or care of what we want or think is good or right or simply humane. You can almost hear the exasperation that I felt when I wrote this. It just moves forward, leaving everyone behind. We will all be left behind in the wake of horror. That was the other part of it, was that horror attends our death in every capacity, right? I mean, none of us die without horror. Ozzy Osbourne, who recently died, there was horror in that, even though he had a rather amazing death as far as you can do in his last concert, last opportunity to sing, even the last song he chose to write, and the chance to be with his family and to be somewhat lucid almost all the way to the end. There's horror in that. Hulk Hogan died too. I'm just pulling a few celebrities out of the air. Fell over with a heart attack. There's horror in that for him and his family. I mean, not for him. He just kind of went out like that. Unless he had some premonition of it going into it. Like I did, feeling the pain in my chest yesterday. Okay, that's that for that. Now, next for the next 24 hours, listing and shipping and listing and shipping. I'm going to be working today. Hopefully this cloud cover will sustain, but It doesn't look like it. I can see the sky clearing. It's going to be hot. Let's read comments before I wrap things up. Good morning, Tim. I wonder if the PEF is a result of withdrawing in part from society or less connected with it. Starts with finishing work, followed with less socializing and stress as you get older. Ooh, that's a really interesting observation, Tim. I need to think about that. And on the face of it, I agree. I think you're onto something there, especially if you're like I think both you and I are, where that withdrawing doesn't. I mean, I don't feel like you're missing anything. I mean, I had a lot of fun yesterday with the two dads in my neighborhood up at the thing. I made two friends that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life because Japanese people largely don't move, and I'm not going to move anymore. So these are the two guys with me, and they're great, and they don't speak English, so or not very much. So we have to speak Japanese. But I don't feel like I'm sitting up here in my balcony. Start of the day, I'll spend most of my day up here by myself. Yumiko will be downstairs doing her thing. We come together for projects and for meals, and dog walks. But for the most part, we do our own thing. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I get plenty of socializing, and I think you're right. There's a great deal of PEF tied up in the consequences of both the removal from the workaday stress and the removal from the what even sometimes positive feelings and the stresses therein of society. Tim goes on. I think I find the outside world or less of it brings more calmness these days. You know, Tim, I was so interested in this. This is interesting that you bring this up. I haven't talked about this with anybody. As a side note, I was out doing something one day. I think we were walking the dogs at night, and Yumiko and Yoko, who just chatter all the time in Japanese, as they walk they were up ahead of me. Rudy's a slow walker, and they stop and wait, let us catch up. And Rudy and I were behind, so I'm usually by myself. Yumiko and I walk in the morning and the afternoon together with the dogs, and then Yoko joins us in the evening, and I usually walk by my own behind them. So I have time to think. I have chats with ChatGPT, and I had actually had a talk with ChatGPT about that very subject. The question I asked ChatGPT I asked it to do any research. There's this new agent mode in ChatGPT. You can send it off into the internet to do research. And I said, can you go look up and see if there's any research to indicate that as we get older, we don't have as much need or want of society? And it came back and told me there's strong evidence that that's the case, that the societal bonds that we have, the friends that we have in our, I'm not saying that they're not our friends in air quotes. I don't know why I'm doing the air quotes there, but it feels like air quote worthy. The friends that we have in our 30s, they serve a purpose insofar as in the child raising years, we kind of create this little community of support, but it's a lot of work. It's hard. Humans don't always fit. You always have to deal with that tension. It's a little like work. And then what ChatGPT told me showed me that the evidence shows that as adults get older, they get tired of that. And since they don't need the structure so much, I mean, there's exceptions. There's people who are social butterflies all their life. But a lot of us are like, I don't need that. Like, I don't need the friends that I had in my 30s. I've said many times in this meditation that I don't really cultivate or have friends anymore. And I'm starting to realize that it's mainly because I don't, sounds awkward to say, I don't feel like I need it anymore. Tim says his weather check here, 21:48. So it's going on, what is that going to be, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock, 15.9 and 72. 15.9, nice and cool, and 72 humidity. Nice, that's pretty good. That seems like both. God, it's a little on the chilly side and a little bit on the humidity is a little bit up there, huh? Hi, Michael. Vivian Wassam. Hello, Vivian. I don't know that I've seen your name here before. Welcome. Although maybe I have, but it's been a while. Hi, Kurt. We had a beautiful beach Sunday here in Rio. Ooh. Rio de Janeiro's winter. 77. That's right. I forgot that. Why do I always think of Australia being, on the southern hemisphere? Of course, Brazil's in the southern hemisphere. It's winter, but you're kind of it's a big country. right? So, but a lot of it's down up right along the equator, right? And also you have a in Brazil you have a very varied landscape, right? I mean, isn't the interior very different from the coast? 77F. Have a great. Do you use Fahrenheit in Brazil? Interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vivian. I appreciate your nice message, and I wish your well wishes to myself and the members and the people on the channel. There's Robert. Hi, Robert. Time, Michelle, and Vivian. And Tim says hi to Robert. Evelyn, there's Evelyn. I feel the same way as you do about working versus not working. Cannot give it up completely, although I just worked 2 10-hour shifts in a row, and I really felt it this time. Yeah, but it feels different when you don't. It feels different, doesn't it, when you're kind of doing it on your own terms, yet, Evelyn? Ooh, now I can feel that heat bearing down. Robert says hi to Evelyn. Evelyn says, how did I ever work a full week plus lots of overtime? I don't know. I don't know how I did it either. I don't know. Erica, hi Erica. Hello to everybody. Robert says hi to Erica. Tim says hi to Erica. Evelyn says, 2 older women friends get so offended when I mention that I am ready for the physical conditions that await me. I just said that I am ready because I feel the signs. Thank you, Evelyn. And Evelyn goes on to say, they both say I'm manifesting it. I mean, bring it on, because I am preparing myself to handle them. Interesting, because they don't know each other. Evelyn, that is so fascinating. You bring up such an interesting point. I hear it all the time. People don't say it to me in comments so much. They'll send me cards and letters after the fact of these videos. And I get it all the time. People say things like, Kurt, I wish you quit talking about death. They say, I wish you quit talking about death because, one, you got a long life to live. You're going to live forever. My grandma lived to 98 and she smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. And 2, Kurt, you're manifesting it, right? You're going to make it happen. And it's none of that. It's memento mori. It's preparing for death. It's looking down the road at the fact that they're looking down across the ocean on the Titanic at the fact of sighting an iceberg in the distance and saying, well, I better get down and get another helping of hors d'oeuvres before the ship goes down. Because it's going down. None of us are getting out of their lives. And it's not like I'm sitting around going, wringing my hands going, oh, I'm going to die. And what of all the stuff I missed out? No, I'm going, I'm going to die. Is there anything I better do before I go? Right? Right? I'm glad to thank you for the hallelujah, Evelyn. I have a feeling just about everybody here feels the same way. Well, maybe not, because I get cards and letters from people every week who watch these videos and tell me otherwise. And it's okay if you feel that way. It's okay. I mean, it's okay if I'm not telling you you're wrong if you don't want to talk about death, because most people don't. It's just not how I want to roll. Tim says, going back to what I mentioned earlier about withdrawing from society, whether it's good or bad, I certainly try and avoid world news as it's ever more depressing. Me too. The other thing I get, Tim, and it kind of upsets people. People are constantly writing to me. I got some over the weekend saying, I read in the newspaper about this or that or the other thing in the United States or in Japan that's going on, that's going to affect the price of bread. What are your thoughts, Kurt? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, outside of trying to be a conscientious voter and, a conscientious community member, I've kind of left all that stuff up to the younger crowd, right? I haven't checked out, but I'm not actively pursuing that stuff. I'm not filling my time with politics and news. In fact, there's almost no politics and news. Heck, I haven't even finished Moby Dick. It's been 6 months. Evelyn says, by the way, those women are both in their 90s. I am saying in a positive way. It doesn't scare me. It's interesting, and it gives you cause to reflect a little bit when someone that old is saying it, because because usually the people that age have kind of reached a kind of a reconciliation with it, right? And if they don't overtly talk about it the way we talk about it, at least it's like for them it's like the price of bread, right? It's like whatever, right? What is it? The Golden Girls? Was it Rose, the mother, who was trying to? I think it was one of the other women one of the Golden Girls, and she had a secret, and Rose said, "Ah, you can tell me. You know, I'll take it. I'll take the secret to my deathbed, which is probably tomorrow." That's usually the more cavalier attitude that they have. Okay, I've reached the end of comments. I'm going to sign off, do my product listing. I have 15 minutes to make it to radio exercise. Thanks for joining me today, friends. It's really good. I really do appreciate your feedback. I really, truly do. It really helps a lot. I wish everybody has a great rest of your day and an upcoming week. Be safe and not too safe. Bye-bye.